So I just got a letter from Providing Hope or Nurturing Youth, which is sort of like if the Make-A-Wish kids' stories were much less sad so they couldn't get the good celebrities and they're just stuck with celebrities like me. So, dear Jason, my name is Stovich. I am a 12-year-old boy dying of toenail cancer. Please make Xardion your next SNES RPG or else I will be dead by the end of the month. Stovich, you idiot. You maroon. You subhuman filth. You piece of garbage. You dick-grabbing frickin' scum. I can't do Xardion because look at this. Look at this. Does this look like you have toenail cancer? You can't possibly have toenail cancer because in order for cancer to exist, you need to have living cells, and nails don't have living cells, so you can't do it. But, you know, as an excuse to pretend a game which is definitely not an RPG actually is an RPG for the purposes of content, I'll do it. Just for you, Stovich.
I mean, it has level ups, there's dialogue, it's obviously anime inspired. Hell, Google says that one of the developers was Gainax Network Systems, so what else do you need? I found a podcast calling this a Metroidvania, which... No. But if they get to do that, then I get to call it an RPG. At least it's closer to one than a Metroidvania. I counted exactly 2 branching paths, both of which are not alternate routes. They just lead to a separate room with bonus crap. There's no power-ups at all for progression, which, you know, isn't that like the core tenet of being a Metroidvania? Hardcore Gaming 101 even perpetrated this myth. Perhaps that's where it came from, calling it, quote, non-linear, which is not true at all. At the very end of the game, in the final stage, it forces you to backtrack for 3 MacGuffins before they allow you to fight the final boss, but it doesn't let you pick up any of them beforehand, so you still need to make it all the way to the final stage first. Each level opens up one after another. It's not like you're allowed to skip around. So if you want to call this non-linear, that you can do the last quest of the game in any order that you want, then be my guest. But calling it non-linear or Metroid-like because of 15 minutes of a 2-hour game is like a Michael Jordan at the end of Space Jam stretch. The mechs were designed by
Yasuhiro Moriki
and
Hajime Katoki,
who are both celebrity artists which worked on Gundam, Virtua On, Police Knots, and a bunch of other stuff I've never heard of. And it was intended to have an anime tie-in series to create sort of a Xardion media franchise, not unlike what Pokemon would do a few years later. There's an increased focus on story with dialogue, in English written by Robert Woodhead, aka the guy who made Wizardry.
So this all sounds cool as heck, right? A genre-bending, alleged Metroid-like with light RPG elements, and anime cutscenes with actual Gundam artists working on it. This has real pedigree, so what could possibly go wrong? This should have been a smash hit for sure, right? Well, the game could fucking suck for one.
Firstly, the new games and continue options are off-center, which really bothers me for some reason. In fact, lots of the text in this game is off-center, such as the text during this cutscene, or even the end screen. How does this happen? Well, let me demonstrate. Excuse me everybody, I have laryngitis in the hair follicles. So how does something like this happen? So you make a text box, and for most of the game, the dialogue is at the bottom of the screen, so you want to have it left aligned, right? So when you keep typing stuff, it just kind of, you know, fits at the bottom left of the screen, and then the rest of the text goes across the bottom. That's what you want normally. But, so when you do text, normally you don't just want plain black, you want like a color, or maybe you want to add like a shadow or something. So we have our beautiful text, right? Now, instead of making another text box when we want to do more text, that doesn't work because you'll just get the plain black text again. So what you do is you copy and paste the text box that you already have, so you have all the same attributes. Now, imagine if you didn't have this visual UI stuff, and you had to manually, you see those pixel values on the screen right there next to the text? Imagine if you had to manually input that while you're programming your game. So you have the text left aligned, and not instead of center aligned. Notice how it changed where it's positioned for left aligned and center aligned? I think what they did was they set up a text box, and then every time there's text in the game, they used some variation of just copy and pasted code. So when they calculated the exact center of the screen, I think they assumed it was gonna be still left aligned, but instead it's center aligned because they changed that too, and it just put it like off to the left. I don't know, I mean, just a theory, I guess. Then there's a cutscene, the screen flashes a few times, and we start playing. Right away, within seconds, I can already tell this game sucks. You move slow as hell, there's no run button, you only shoot straight ahead or directly above. The jumping feels stiff. This may look somewhat like Metal Storm on NES, but it certainly doesn't feel like it. You're not maneuverable at all. There's no kind of momentum or anything like in Metal Warriors either. The age-old side-scrolling quality check is to try to make sure that it's fun to move around without any obstacles. And this is not.
Okay. That's not going to be the general tone of this video because I actually had fun playing Xardion. Sure, it's a cheaply made piece of shit, but it's a cheaply made piece of shit I actually had fun playing. It's junk food, in other words.
It's not really an action game, it's more of a level up until you win type of one. There are other characters you can switch to, but they don't matter. Like at all. The idea is that each one is supposed to allow you access to different places or solve puzzles or something, but there's exactly one spot in the entire game where you have to turn into this panther thing to hit a switch. Other than that, there's really not much of a reason to use one of these over the other. This panther sucks, by the way. You'd think it'd move a little faster or at least handled differently, but nope. All three mechs feel more or less the same. This red guy's bullets are a little bigger than the standard ones, but you can't aim up anymore, so he's not worth using either. Late in the game, the Panther is replaced by Xardion himself, who's the best because he can aim both up and down. He also gets a screen wipe as a special ability, but you only have him for the backtracking quest in the final boss. In fact, he is the only one who can damage the final boss, so all those levels I invested into the other characters might as well have been flushed down the Xardion. You know, like a Portageon, but with more Zard. Yeah, that's a stretch, I don't know. I felt cheated though, like I shouldn't have bothered managing experience at all, because in the end, it never even mattered.
You know, pressing the button gets really tiring in this. It's sort of like Contra, where in order to play, you gotta constantly be mashing the shoot button, but it's a good thing I have the ASCII pad. Now, what is the ASCII pad? Well, it's a Super Nintendo controller with switches for everything. You just push the Y switch over, your character fires continuously. Now, how cool is that? You can also put it in the middle, so it's like context sensitive, like it'll only fire when you hold down the button. But yeah, pretty cool, right?
The level design is adequate. Nothing amazing, but nothing too noteworthy to complain about either. Except for this part. Right before the final boss, you're presented with 3 different unmarked pathways with our character exclaiming, "Where's the entrance?" Choose correctly and you're in the final boss room, but if not, you have to do the entire final stage all over again from the beginning. Why? Because fuck you, we're not designing any more stages. The padding is blatant. I feel like the level system only exists so you can't steamroll your way to the end as soon as the game starts. And the way it works is a little strange too, in that there's no notification or sound effect or anything when you do level up. You just have to happen to be looking at the top left of the screen to see your health go up. See, there it went. The final MacGuffin quest is bullshit. It's not like any of the revisited areas are any different the second time around. The only thing that's changed is now there's another item for you to pick up that wasn't there before. This tree stage also bothered me because the entire time you can't jump on any of the branches or else you fall through and die. You have to stay on the green leafy platforms, but then you get to the end and suddenly you have to jump on the one branch which looks exactly like all the others. Instead of these giant green and red roses down there, which you fall through and die. There's no cohesion at all between the stages, which has got to be the most common smoking gun to a cheap-feeling game. Here we're in an ice stage, when suddenly we drop down a hole into the Ewoks village? Is that where it was? It was underneath Hoth the entire time? Then following the branch I just complained about leads to a completely different location altogether. The game just fades to black and suddenly we're on this rocky cliffside. Xardion has varied locations, which is good, but you're always just taken there by a fade to black, which is lame as heck. The dialogue doesn't matter. All it is, sometimes text will appear at the bottom of the screen attempting to fill in the gaps our in-game graphics aren't good enough to do by themselves. That or they just say the most obvious thing imaginable with minimal flavor text added, such as when you're on a rising platform. An orbital elevator? I don't believe it! Or when you reach the end of a stage and are about to face off against a boss. This is terrible! We're history! Didn't I say I had fun though? I did, but you know, fun is a mindset. You can choose to have fun with anything. It basically had nothing to do with the quality of the game itself and more to do with the fact that it's dog easy and only 2 hours long. So it felt good to just sit down and dominate this feeble, worthless game in one sitting. It's so short that the ending took me completely off guard. I thought I had just finished the first area, but nope, that was the entire game. The ending was weird too, with everything getting completely wiped, turning the planet into a Mad Max-esque sandy hellscape. I thought I got a bad ending, but nope. Looked it up and this is it. This is just how Xardion ends.
Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, take it. Oh, yeah. Go upside down. Yeah, you go upside down. You rip off Metal Storm. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, if you want to sit down and just breeze through a game, just play something with low risk, low reward, then Xardion will do the trick. It's okay. You will be whelmed. You will play through the game and you will never think about it ever again. I know I won't. Anyway, there you go, Stovich. There's your review, as it said. Is including this in every SNES RPG cheating? Absolutely. It's really not an RPG. It's just here to fill the numbers, fill the upload schedule. Anyway, never trust anyone who needs a haircut. Goodbye.